LaHood.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank the panelists here today. I guess in looking at my home state of Illinois and looking at the impact that this proposed rule would have on jobs and economic growth, I have real concerns about that. And I want to cite a recent analysis and study done by NERA Economic Consulting that is titled, What Could New Ozone Regulations Cost Illinois? And this is dated August of 2015. In looking at the proposed rule and the effect it would have in Illinois specifically, $47 billion in gross state product loss between 2017 and 2040. 35,000 lost jobs or job equivalents per year. $12 billion in total compliance costs, $650 drop in average household consumption per year, $1 billion more for residents to own and operate their vehicles statewide in this period, and I will submit this for the record. And I guess looking at that and a number of other studies that look at what this would do, what causes concern for me is I look at companies, particularly in my district in central and west central Illinois. Caterpillar's based in my district, a Fortune 40 company, very benevolent, generous company, but also has been very proactive in the environmental movement and what they've done at their companies. A company like John Deere, ADM, that's in my district. And I look at how they are trying to compete worldwide in the marketplace, and they are trying to obviously create jobs and opportunities. And when I look at this proposed rule, what that would do locally to those companies, and I guess I couple that with, when you look at the statistics, air quality in American cities is the best that it's been in a century. Ozone pollution has declined 33% since 1980, 9% since 2008. And so when I look at those companies and what they're trying to do proactively, and then they have to look at this coming down on top of them, I guess, Mr. Holmstead, in looking at that, competing in the world marketplace, and whether you're going to create jobs in Illinois or you're going to go to India or China or someplace else, can you talk about that a little bit?
There's one observation I like to make. Certainly, California has done very well economically over the last number of years. There was a time when we used to manufacture things in California. We don't do that anymore. It's just too expensive because heavy manufacturing requires energy. And so that's been to the benefit of other states. We're getting to the point now where if we turn the rest of the country into California, we will have no choice but to export those jobs. And it's not because companies are bad citizens, but if they compete economically with everybody else in the globe, and all of a sudden you drive up their cost too much, the same thing that happened to Southern California is going to happen to Central Illinois. And I just think that we just need to be smart in how we continue to make environmental progress. That's we can continue to make progress, but we can do it in a way that's much more reasonable, that is not going to disadvantage U.S. businesses and consumers.
And it would be fair to say, Mr. Holmstead, there's a direct correlation between what this rule is going to do and job loss or economic loss with companies like I mentioned and others.
Yeah, there is no doubt that this will hurt the rate of economic growth. I think it's hard to know, and I have a great respect for NERA. I think that study looked at even a lower standard, and so that probably overstates the cost. But there's no doubt that it will impose additional costs on businesses. It will make it harder for them to grow and expand. And ultimately, you're going to drive people out of these areas, and they're going to have no choice but to go somewhere else.
Thank you. Dr. Honeycutt, I wanted to ask you, so in terms of the effect this will have on state and local resources, when these EPA, if this rule is implemented, in terms of agencies catching up on implementing the current standard when they're already working on a standard now, can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure, it is substantial. It costs TCEQ. We've put money to the numbers. $1 million to do a SIP for a moderate area, and so And that's just the SIP. That's not even looking at the exceptional events, the long-range transport things. Those are hundreds of thousands of dollars. So, and that's tax money. So, yeah, it's substantial.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, if I could, I'd like to submit the study I just referenced and also a letter from the Tri-County Regional Planning Commission in Peoria, Illinois, asking for a delay in the attainment designation.